Oh, is that the one you sent me earlier? I like these stickers. You've got them on the background of Crossplayers as well. You've got the all the different stickers. Oh, that's my face. I'm wearing the same T-shirt. I think I took that picture today. Actually, that's fine.
It was a good one. It was. I like that. I like the T-shirt as well, which is pretty good.
It's a good bit of T-shirt. I saw it and just knew I had to have it.
Huff. We're live, by the way. I should mention that. So.
Oh yeah. Hi, everyone.
I should say that. Yeah, live. Absolutely live. I'm just going to check all the audio is working. It seems to be absolutely fine. That is perfect.
Absolutely wonderful.
Ben is in the chat. Your muse, your flame.
My muse, my flame, my inspiration.
Your inspiration.
Benji Kong.
Yes. Maxi Bon.
She's like Maxi Bon. Maxi Bon and Benji Kong.
Maxi Bon and Benji Kong. You can't say that 3 times quick. I bet you can't anyway.
Maxi Bon and Benji Kong. No, yeah, I give up.
That's terrible. That's awful. Talk us through your musical choices, mate. That's what I want.
My musical choices. Okay, so I need to remember them.
Do you want me to read them off for you?
No, well, you can read them out just as a for the audience.
I'll read them out for the audience. So you had I'm not going to say that one because that'll ruin it for the end. But you picked Delusionist. Only joking. Sorry, Ben. He didn't. He hates them. Fall in Love by Slum Village. Yeah, banger.
Oh, it's a banger, yeah.
Yeah, absolute banger. Man by Skepta.
Banger. Yeah. Certified.
That is a certified banger. How Soon Is Now or 6 Minutes of It by the Smiths. Yeah.
But did you really do the full version? I guess there's only one version.
You put it in there. I didn't fucking choose it.
I did put it in there. You're right. It's my fault.
A Place for My Head, Linkin Park. We missed that one out. But yeah.
Did we not play that? We didn't have time.
Oh, we didn't have time.
That's because it was a 6 minute song.
It was a 6 minute Swiss song, and it was your fault. And yeah, that was it. So talk us through him. You were trying to create a vibe. That's what you said.
I wasn't trying to create a vibe. More, I was trying to follow the vibe that had already been set up by the playlist as it existed by song with songs that I like still. But then, like I said, I gave up sort of like 3 songs in and ended up just putting in the Smiths and Linkin Park. The Smiths is a band that I remember when I got to about sort of 16 and started hanging out with maybe more alternative people, and they were all like, "I love the Smiths," and they all drank coffee and all that kind of stuff. And I'd like the Smiths because it was something my mum had introduced me to as a kid. She always had like all of the CDs and the vinyls and stuff in a drawer. So I'd always listen to the Smiths. It was either like the Smiths, one of the Smiths albums, I can't remember what it is now. Or it was Ava Gold, were like 2 of the sort of CDs that were always like playing in the car or whatever. But How Soon Is Now is just the one that I like the most out of all the Smith songs because it is so weird and different. And it's just like a very unique sound.
Never got into them. I struggled with them. Yeah. I think I was because it was like the Mancunian kind of sound a bit more so than like the Liverpool kind of indie and that kind of scene that we had. Yeah. Loads of my mates were really, really into it, but I was just more like, I thought I was like elitist. I was like really into like the new indie scene. I was like, not into the Smiths, and I'd go to like this little bar in town called Labato, go downstairs and be playing the Smiths. I'd be like, fucking Smiths. And I was that guy. I was like, didn't like the Beatles, didn't like the Smiths. So I thought Billy Big Balls, but
yeah,
it's the gobshite.
I was the kid who didn't like Eminem when growing up, but I did like the Smiths. So I was, But that was only because it was something my mum introduced me to, and there are other bands that my mum's introduced me to since, like System of a Down. I was introduced to by my mum, and that's a band that I really like, and I have always liked since. And I've actually had the opposite effect when I met loads of people when I sort of became older, and I was hanging out with less sort of like alternative sort of like skate park people, and more like people that are still my friends now, who have become long-term friends, and they're all really in System of a Down. And I was like, okay, I found my people, instead of it being I like this. If these are the kind of people who like the Smiths, am I coming across as one of those kind of people? But yeah, How Soon Is Now? That's why I chose that one. Place in my head, Linkin Park. Linkin Park is. You asked this question to Ben on his episode, and it made me think about it. And there's only always been like one answer. What is the defining album, or like what's the word you used?
It's like kind of. I'm trying to think of the right way, but. It's not seminal, but what we should kind of... It begins with an F. It's one that, like, formulates you. It's not that word. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can't think of the word. Somebody in the chat got to help me out. But
well, I think so. For me, that album has always been Hybrid Theory. Because I still remember now, it was the year 2001. I was, like, 9 years old. Went camping with my dad, my brother, my uncle, and my cousin. And I think it was raining and they were setting up the tent, and I was just not into that at all. So I sat in my uncle's car. They had a CD player in there, and there was this album that I'd never heard of Linkin Park before. It was something that had been played, I think, in my mum's car before. She had like a mixtape that had them on there.
Right.
But it wasn't something that I had ever like sat down and listened to. But I sat down there while they were putting the tent up, and I listened to the whole album, and I was like, "This is amazing! This is incredible!" And I listened. I then bought my own version of the CD. It played when I was playing PlayStation. It was always playing next to me. It's just one of those albums that sort of shaped my taste in music going forward. I'm very much into hip hop, or things that have rapping in them, I guess. And I'm also into sort of heavier stuff. And Linkin Park was that. Where the two might have forked off, because that album sort of introduced me to the two of them in a way. And I always say that whenever I play a song like Linkin Park, and people at work are like, or wherever I might be, are like, "Oh, no, we don't want none of this screamo or heavy stuff." And in my head, the baseline for what is heavy, anything heavier than Linkin Park is heavy. Anything less heavy than Linkin Park isn't heavy. Linkin Park is like the neutral pH for me.
I remember doing a little kind of like show and tell in school. I think it was in an English lesson. God knows what the fuck was going on in high school for English, but we had to talk about something we're like passionate about, and it was I chose like Nickelback album.
Which one?
Yeah,
Silver Side Up.
Yo, yeah, come on, mate, Silver Side Up.
Yeah,
and it was like,
yes.
too bad, too late,
Too late,
and I'm there
so
fucking in front of the class going, "Come on, everybody!" And it went around to like all of the. And bearing in mind, this is for me. This is like pretty well-to-do school where everyone like kind of sounds like me, not proper Scousers. And then there's kids in the class that are dead cool, putting on a Scouse accent. I won't name names. Nobody fucking find out anyway. But yeah, I won't name names. But anyway, one of the girls kind of like shouted out, "Oh, this is just a smelly band." And that was what it was called in Liverpool. It was like if you were into kind of like heavy metal or anything that remotely had a riff in it, you were a smelly. And anyway, I found great joy in the fact that then she turned into a smelly several years after that.
The Grebo gets them all, mate. Everyone has their Grebo phase.
Mate, that's it. Too bad by Nickelback. It changed her. I think at that point in time, it moved her forward. But I kind of found out I was always really into having a riff in a song. So I don't just mean like a decent guitar riff and something, but whether it's like you chose Skepta before, some of the beats that Skepta selects for songs are like fucking phenomenal.
It's like a melody kind of thing going through.
Exactly. If there's something to it, if there's a hook, I tend to find myself gravitating towards it, which is
very much
why we said before this like really eclectic, and you seem to be the same. So.
I say that if someone said, "What's your favorite genre?" I would just I'd have to say, "Oh, it's got to be either hip hop or it's I'll just pick a genre out." But whoever I'm saying to, I'll just lie to them. Why not say a genre? Because there isn't really a favorite genre I have. I just know what I like when I hear it, and sometimes I'll hear something like that sounds really nice. And no one else will like it, and I'll be like, that sounds really good to me, so I'm going to keep playing it, keep listening to it, and finding things that sound like this. But I also like I said earlier before we were recording, like a weird beat or like a choppy beat, or I just like it when something clever's done or when something sounds good, which I guess is just why people listen to music in the first place. But I don't like the whole, like I said earlier, I don't like Eminem, and I find a lot of people try and emulate and be Eminem when they're doing their own rapping. Do it with those kinds of really repetitive beats where it's the same sort of thing over and over and over, and it just I like it when a beat changes halfway through, or there's like a change in stuff.
It's difficult to try and find that as well, and I think like I'd be quite interested to know what your like new music process is to try and find new things, because you're pretty into your fashion. That is a compliment as well, Max. That's the first one of the evening, so we'll chalk that off. Usually on a podcast, it's the other way around. We're taking the piss out of each other, but I'll give you a compliment. And you're a fashionable chap. You're a well-dressed man. You know what you're doing. So I'm curious to know, like, where does that kind of, where you defining that zeitgeist for yourself? Where you getting that new idea, whether it's a new song or whether it's new kind of like style taste? What's your funnel? Ooh, marketing term as well.
What is my funnel? Let's double back and come back to that. No, so I don't think I've ever lined up how I look and what I listen to the same way I never line up sort of games I like and how I look. I try not to create I don't like being judged by what people see. I don't like which obviously it's hard to do. But I don't like someone looking at me and being like, okay, that guy's a gamer because I'm wearing a game t-shirt, or oh, that guy is wearing a band t-shirt or something like that. I don't know. There's just something I like how I look and who I am to be different things.
It's very,
I only own sort of.
Sorry, man. I was going to say it's a very Kanye approach to shit as well, because he is quite vanilla in the way that he dresses, and like, all right, the guy wears like $400 t-shirts and shit, but yeah, I can see that approach.
Yeah, I don't often wear. I have like 2 game related t-shirts. One's got Game Boy Color written across it, which I got as a present, and one is when Parker from Fanatics 4 was at PAX East a couple of years ago, or PAX West, where's East? PAX East, and they were showing off Wonderful 101 remastered. Right, I was like, give me a t-shirt, send it over, and I ended up getting like 45 quid for this t-shirt that I don't even know where it is anymore. But those are the only 2 like game related t-shirts I ever own. Every time I get a t-shirt from like a pre-order, I end up just giving it away, kind of thing. So looping back to what the actual question was, in terms of music, I don't often try and link the two. There have been times where I've been into like heavy into like trainers, and I've been to like training conventions kind of things, and they're always playing pop music, and there's always a sort of a style around those kinds of people, you know. They are very much into their hats, into their sort of streetwear brands, into their workwear brands like Carhartt or Dickies and stuff like that. And there is an aesthetic, there is a look there that I do like. But I'd quite happily go to a heavy metal event dressed the same sort of way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have done in the past. You know, been to things like what's the night called in London? Face Down. I think it's called Face Down. There's like a pop punk, but also kind of hardcore night, and I'll happily sort of go in what I would wear to anywhere else. You know, new music is a tough one though. I don't actually know where I would wear. I've been thinking about it the whole time I've been talking, which is very difficult for me. But where I don't even know where I think I just hear something and I'll say to someone, "What is this?" Like earlier when you played that song, I was like, "What is this?" I will now go ahead and look into that and look at what else they've been doing, and, you know, making stuff with. Recently, I've been sharing songs with someone, not really in sort of the sort of stuff I've been listening to a lot recently, but something you know, nicer stuff, more mellow stuff to sort of relax to. And I've discovered some new bands and some new people that I've never heard of. Rex Orange County before, hadn't really dealt in Unknown Morsel Orchestra before, but these are now bands that I like listening to, and would gladly like listen to some of their other stuff. I don't really have a process. I'm not a person that goes and sees a lot of live music if I don't know who it is. I've been to a few grind nights and they'll play stuff, but like at nights like that, where it's people you don't know playing songs that don't have like a list underneath it, and there's no playlist you can go back to after, you just lose a lot of it.
Yeah.
What's that song called? Like, I'm never going to hear that song again because it's going to annoy me. So yeah,
it's weird. I think with that as well, I'm not really because I used to play in bands a lot, so I'd be out on a gig and I kind of listen to other bands and you get to know their music, but I never really. There was always like a level up from the bands that I played with, you know, where it was like, it was great to kind of like hear their music and you'd appreciate their kind of like the technique and everything on the night, or the actual lyricist or whatever it might be. However, it never resonated on that night. I never really found a band that was like, fucking hell, that's amazing. Like I never played with anyone absolutely massive. I'm not going to name drop now because I know you'll probably start rinsing me. But yeah, from
when you brought up last week or 2 weeks ago with Ben that you'd been in a band, because I didn't know that. I didn't know that you. I obviously knew there was an element of being musical in you. I didn't realize you were actually in a band though. What kind of thing did you play?
It was like heavy indie. I loved it, and I used to play in a band with Pete, who I started this podcast with originally, going like 3 years ago, something like that. And he was the drummer in the band. I played guitar, sang. Write the theme tune, sing the theme tune. Like I loved writing, but my lyrics were shite, and that's where I was like speaking to Ben last week. I was like, I've got that admiration for him. But yeah, it's similar to what we've been speaking about. I always wanted to write that riff. I always wanted to write something that I could listen back to and be chuffed with. But I only ever found myself getting bored of the music that I was playing, and I was like, I need to improve it. It needs to get better. And sadly, I carry that with me in the podcast as well. I'm always like, I need to improve. I need to put a different overlay. I need to do another logo. It's like kind of like moving forward kind of vibe, and it kind of killed off that band fun for me. So the project itself, as much as it's like I've got great mates there and, you know, absolutely love them to bits, but yeah, the project itself kind of like ran out. But yeah, I enjoy it. I've got obviously the acoustic now that I mainly just play to Jesse now and again and play the odd tune to him, but it's yeah.
I'm sure you owe us a song as well, don't you? You owe us a song from November, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember hearing anything.
I can't remember doing that actually because Ethan paid for that, didn't he? That's a good point.
Yeah, I put my heart and soul into that.
Shit, I did actually try and record it about 4 times after it. We played the main November night.
Oh yeah.
I tried to record 4 songs after it, but I was too hammered, and I was like, I'm not singing very well. This is embarrassing. Trying to get reverb on my voice. I was like, I can't do it. It's absolutely fucking awful. So yeah.
What was the song you were trying to do?
The Elvis song, Can't Help Falling in Love.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, I was trying that one.
That might be a thing I hear in the future then, hopefully.
Yeah. It sounded like a 10-second clip, and I'm actually quite disappointed that you don't remember it, but it shows how memorable my singing was. There you go.
Oh, I'm probably just didn't hear it, mate.
Disgraceful.
I heard it, I'd have remembered it, Dan, because I'd have brought it up a million times to spite you.
Definitely would have, and you would have overlaid it on something and then taken a piss out of. So that's actually a really good thread to kind of pull on, because that's something I think we've always had in common, that we've got that same style of humor where it's like self-deprecating, and you can also deliver a knockout blow as well with the jokes that you do. Where the fuck has that come from? Because I know where it's come from my side, but I'm curious to know where you've kind of... Do you have like a ruthless group of mates that you've just always been around, or have you just been especially quick? What's the graph?
I think, yeah, I mean, like, we've always had that. I mean, like most groups of mates do, everyone sort of ribs each other. But I think I have a learning difficulty called dyspraxia, which when I was sort of diagnosed when I was about 14, and it's sort of hand-eye coordination, it's organisation, it's clumsiness, things like that. But I've always found one of the sort of things from that has always been tactlessness, that I just say things as soon as they come into my mind. And I do think that sometimes I do come up with things quite quickly, or I'll come up with an idea and I'll try and like execute it very quickly. There'll be times when I've got a really good way to rinse down, and I'll have to quickly record something. And that definitely comes from just being sort of quicker, but like being able to, like you say, like deliver like a blow. Sometimes I do say things that are quite harsh, but I often have to then pair that with something I say about myself to balance it out, or give you an attack back, give you a
suitable in. Yeah. You've got to be suitable. I think it's interesting that, because I think I can see it happening at times when I can almost see your brain working on the pod, and you've got something, and it's like you're instantly reviewing, going, "Can I say that? Is that all right? Is that too much?" And then you'll see it either come out or it'll get vetted and then dumped to a background where I'm very familiar with.
That's it. That is the process. Like, I just think of things all the time. I'm always just thinking of things. I'm always like, I find it really hard to do nothing. I said this song recently where I feel like if I'm not doing anything, I'm wasting time. And that's very much how my mind works, in that, like, if I'm doing the same task, like at work, for example, if I'm doing a task that I think is quite mundane, I'm doing the same thing over and over, my mind's like, what else could I be doing right now? Is there anything? Check this, do that. And that works all the time as well. Even when I'm sitting here talking to people, or if I'm talking to someone, there's always just other things happening in my head, and I find it really hard to focus and shut down. I've always found it hard to concentrate. I've always daydreamed as a kid, and I think I'm always sort of like 3 steps ahead of myself when I say something. I already know the response I'm going to give to their response, kind of thing. Sometimes, which is not, sometimes it's hard that way, because it's like the other day I got in from work and I was tired, and I ended up just sitting with my earphones in, listening to music. I think I tweeted about this, that I just sat and did nothing for like 4 hours, listened to music and did nothing, which I never do. I'm always like, right, okay, I've got to do this. I know I've got to do this. I've got to do this for someone else. I've agreed something to someone else. I know I've got to send this tonight. I've got to do this for Morgan. All these things I do, and that I've agreed to do. It was nice to try and just shut off, but it just doesn't happen all the time.
Does it happen when you go away? No, I was going to say, does it happen if you go away and go on holiday, or if you ever found anything where you can be zen, or is it just almost emotion that is your relaxation, depending on what you're doing?
Yeah, holidays for me have always been, go with the family, and we would always go to like it was either like an all-inclusive thing, which stopped happening after a while, or it would be like a hotel or a villa, something like that. And I always say, when I think back to certain holidays, I think about the idea I came up with at that holiday, because I've always thinking about something else. But it's never ideas of like, I'm going to do this thing. I mean, there was a point where I was about sort of 15, 16, when I was trying to get into making games, and I was learning how to use Game Maker, and I was doing the pixel art for stuff for it, and trying to come up with ideas. And it's probably like the three holidays between like 14, 15, 16, where I can think of the game that I spent the entire 2 weeks thinking about this game idea, trying to flesh it out in my head, and then it would be dropped by sort of like Christmas time because I just didn't have the attention span for it. But then next summer, I'd be on holiday, nothing to actually do, so my mind would start wandering again. I'd then come up with something else. And I don't know. Sometimes I find thinking and just being able to think is my relaxation. Sometimes, I'm not one of those people who can sit around a pool and do nothing. I have to be listening to music, playing something or something else.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I like a beach. It's fine for maybe a day, but then, and even then, that day has to be split out across 5. I'm not like, I can't just sit on the beach and read a book. It just doesn't feel conducive to me enjoying myself. Like I like some of the best holidays I've had have been like going around Venice and seeing museums and drinking and eating and getting pissed.
They are the best holidays. They are the best holidays. It's doing things. I'm not one of those people who likes to do things to such a regiment that it's like every hour of the holidays filled with things. It's nice to have downtime and times where you're just like, we'll just sit around the pool. But that sitting around the pool is either me swimming or I'll be playing something on the Switch, or has been for recently, or I'm, I don't know, it's never just sort of sitting in the sun and thinking of nothing. It's always like I have this space of time where I don't have to do work or anything that I've agreed to do, whether it be, podcast wise or writing wise or all the things that I do. And having free time is quite nice. It's just I never spend it doing fuck all.
I think that's do you find it improves your kind of professional outlook as well?
No
That's interesting.
I always worry at work that I'm not doing enough or not showing that I'm doing enough. Or like I said to you earlier, that there are times when I'll a whole day will have gone by and I'll be like, well, what the hell did I even do that day? And where we in the morning, it'll be, what did you do? I'm sure you're very familiar with what did you do yesterday?
Yep.
What are you doing today?
Scrum.
And sometimes, exactly. Yeah. Stand up every single day. It's what did you do yesterday? I'm like, well, hang on. So I have to go through and like consult, what have I actually updated? What have I actually written down? What have I given work to other people to do and then checked back? Because I just don't, I can't picture. And I had an appraisal recently with someone that I'd hired, and when one of like the part of the appraisal, I was like, so do you have any feedback for me and my boss? Do you have any feedback for us? And her feedback was, it'd be nice to know what it is that you two do, so I have a greater understanding of the business.
Yeah.
And I immediately started panicking because I was like, what do I do? What do I do?
You don't know me. You don't know me. Get out.
I was like, what do I do? Like, and I just couldn't think of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
I
fucking
think
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I think more recently where we've been adding, things like the agile process into the business and breaking things down into sprints and into groups and things like that. Which is all very boring stuff for everyone that's not into project management like you are, Daniel.
Let's get into it.
Well, we've been introducing that into the business, and it's so much better being able to see, okay, I have this many hours in a week, these many tasks to do in this 2 week period, and if something doesn't get done, we know that all that means is we know what we can do next time. And I've really enjoyed that process the last couple of weeks, or the last week, however long it's been now. We've only recently introduced it, but I feel more productive in that way than I do if I do my usual thing, like you said, working out of an inbox, working off the list, because things just get lost in the fuzz, the haze. And also, I'm also one of those people who likes to try and keep up with what's going on Twitter, in the news, in the world all the time as well. It gets quite exhausting. So having something more regimented is really helping me in that way. But that doesn't work. That's not who I am as a person. So I wouldn't say that me being constantly thinking about the next thing ever helps me at work. If anything, it hinders me because I'm always thinking about the next thing that isn't work. When I'm at home, I'm always thinking about work, and at work, I'm always thinking about home. I'm never focused on the one thing I need to be focused on.
So you'd say, I think probably the way that you operate anyway is like, we use that word conducive enough, but it's like literally the most obvious type of creative that you can get, where they are really scatterbrained, they look at different things, they're constantly on the move. Would you kind of identify that as yourself from a creativity perspective?
I would always call myself a wannabe creative, because as much as that does sound exactly like me, there's just not, I don't have the output that a creative would have. I have all these ideas and all these things that I start and all these things that I always say things that I agree to do, because I've got all these different projects that I've said, yeah, I'll do that. Oh, you need some help with that? I'll gladly help with that. and I think I can do it all, and then it comes to it, and I just can't fit it all in. So I've got all these things I want to do, all these things I've always wanted to do. You know, whether it be the sort of pixel art thing, like the stuff that I do, or wanting to help someone with their social media stuff that they want to do. That's their project they want to ask for my help on, and I always go, yeah, I can do that because I just want to help them.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I feel like I can never put that out. And it's been good doing things like podcasts with you and podcasts with Luke Potts and with Fanatics 4, because it's a regimented time. That's when we're doing it. That's who we're doing it with. This is what we're talking about. But when it comes down to me managing myself and me managing my own creative process, I can never sort of like, because the only person I've then got to disappoint is myself.
Yeah.
I just don't sort of finish these things. Like questionable takes, I would love to. Well, we've discussed this as well already, but I'd love to be able to pick that up and take, where I was last year with it, when I was so with it and I had all these plans and I spoke to a bunch of people about it and it was all happening. And then when things started to slow down last year, because it's hard trying to build a podcast because it was just me doing it myself, and my plan was to build it around guests, around people that I wanted to speak to about certain topics. But when the guests sort of start to be too busy or drop off, it can be quite disheartening when you book something in and then the day comes and then you don't hear anything, and it's like, well, that's fine, they're probably busy, but then weeks, months pass, etc.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to sort of pick that back up, but because of the way that I have been with it, it's just gets left. And it's the same with pixel art projects I've done and game projects I've done. Things just get left too often because I just can't. So I often don't see things to their conclusion, which is frustrating. It's a very frustrating way to be. I think I always get frustrated with myself when I look back on like missed opportunities.
It's probably an argument there that you need to be a little bit more selfish. I think that's something that I've had from my I was going to say my line manager, but the people I work really close with that I respect immensely. They gave me that feedback quite early on and said like you can't put your hand up as much. And I think with the group that we've got, I always have that, and Ben and I spoke about it. I've always had that kind of ownership and fundamental kind of, right, I'm anchored to this. The responsibility is mine. I need to do all the pods. That got me to the point of being immensely fucking frustrated a lot of the time and being like, well, no one's putting half as much effort in as me, so therefore, what's the point? It's completely the wrong attitude to have, which I knew. However, I think where it got to me most in a good way was when I started doing this. You put more into it. And I think questionable takes, I probably reversed the advice that I gave you in the past. I'd love to have it as part of like the podcast group that we've got. Yeah. I don't think it needs to be, Max. I think you will put more into it and probably execute more creatively if you were to keep it separate. Because at least then you've got your outlet, then you've got your baby that you can actually put that, you had 4 hours the other night where you listened to music. 2 of them could have been spent on it. Then you probably would have got something in a good way. And as much as I really want to get more guests on in the future and approach people outside of our circle, I've also thought, well, after doing Desert Island Carts and getting like really big names on and, well, biggish names, lovely people on, big names, Per Schneider, name drop, and Ben Congleton, big name drop. But these guys that kind of came on.
Apparently that's my name as well, by the way. If you look at the Twitch feed, my name is also Ben.
Is it? Oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
Where's that? No, it says episode 2 Max Wright on my Twitch.
No, if you look at the overlay.
On what overlay? Oh yeah, it says Ben. I've probably just picked up on that now. I'll change that. Thank you. Cheers, mate. I'll fix that in post.
10 minutes ago, but we were talking, so I didn't want to bring it up.
Oh, well,
I found my in.
I'm going to change that now. I know, yeah, that makes me feel worse. But the point I was trying to make, Max,
Go on, sorry, mate. Carry on.
Not Max, is that you do need to be selfish at times. I think to be able to kind of push forward with something that you care about. Otherwise, it just won't get traction. Simply. Yeah. And if it's an idea that you've got a lot of value in and that you think will be a starter, then why wouldn't you?
It's still something I really believe in, because I think one of the things that people said this to me before, that the thing I do best sometimes is pull people out of their shells and make them feel included, and that's what I wanted from that, was that I would be the person who's running it, and I'd pick a person who's already got their own thing going on, but that we could have a conversation and that I could get enough out of them so that they would not like have fun on it, as well as like actually be interesting to watch as well. I would wanted the guests, and Ben said he enjoyed it a lot when he was on there. Ewan also said the same. But it's hard to. How do you make it unique? And I think it's kind of like you've got a good system here where it's just talking. It's just talking about things. Whereas I put a lot of effort into Questionable Takes, both the episodes in like, okay, what's the game we're going to play? What's the how are we going to block this out? What are the jokes I'm going to make? All that stuff. And I think a lot of something like this where it's just talking. I'm sure you've got planning done because obviously you've got questions you're asking. Oh, you just got off the top of your head, yeah?
Off the top of my head, yeah, most of it. I've got genuinely. I'll show you what I have got. Sorry, wrong name. People have texted me. I literally got 5 different items on there that I've kind of got.
Oh yeah. Oh mate, whoa, hang on. I don't want
to see them. It's like ruin it. You can see it later now. Like you can prove that they're actually on there. But yeah, couple of things. Couple of things on there that I think are really important. But ultimately, I don't know. Like I've always been really, really good. Like my whole like career was getting thrown into really awkward situations. Like first off, I was my kind of like graduate job was walking up and down taxi ranks in Preston. Speaking to taxi drivers, getting details for renewal. That was it. I had to get I had to get 60 a week.
You meant like dressed in fishnets and a mini skirt.
That's all. Ha! I've got you, and then running away. Like I'm very creative in the way that I did it, Max. You wouldn't have known. So and then I had to move across like multiple cities and open branches and look after some of the branches that we've got. So it meant that whenever I was going to those areas, I was trying to keep a routine going. So playing 5-a-side. So go and join a club, and I'd make like loads of friends. We lived in Leeds for like a year, did the same thing there, made a load of good mates. Birmingham, Reading, like all these kind of different areas where I was thrust into that. So I kind of like thought the premise of that and the way that I could talk to people there, and be an awkward fucking knobhead, like I probably am on most of the podcasts that I do. Like it just is. Thanks, mate. But cheers, Ben. But from my side of things, like it's the best way to actually get to know people is to kind of have that awkward moment, let them kind of know that Dan's literally vacant in the way that he'll speak to you. It doesn't matter what type of person you are; he just wants to know about you. I think that kind of works. So, but Questionable Takes. So, what was the premise of it? So you got a game. I know I wasn't invited on, so I don't really know.
Well, I didn't know you then. So you're on my list. You are on my list though.
What list?
Hit list. No, list. I had a list of people I wanted to do episodes with at a certain point when I sort of came up with the idea. It was so like I said to you before, it was inspired by Ben mostly. And Ben's probably in the chat now being all smarmy, but it was when Hades came out and I realised I didn't have an outlet to speak about it. There wasn't a way that I could do a 45-minute talk on Loot Pots, who I was doing a lot with at the time. Podcast wise, there wasn't a way they were going to give me 45 minutes to just talk about Hades. Same way, I just didn't have that sort of space. Fanatics 4 as well, I was doing podcasts with them, but I would only ever be able to do 5 minutes on it. But I wanted to have this discussion with people, and the game was happening at the time, and I wanted to be talking about it.
Want to be there?
To be a part of that, because I was really enjoying it. And I saw Ben was enjoying it, and I know that Ewan had reviewed it quite highly, so I reached out to Ben and I think we were just talking generally about the game where we were and stuff. I think I just messaged him something like, "Oh mate, I want to talk about this. I want to get a podcast together." And he sort of gave me a couple of ideas for names. There were some pretty good ones in there because they were, it was I was coming up with the premise, but it was something that Pete had said. Pete Bessie from Loot Pots has said that he always says to me that my takes are questionable. I'll say something like about 2D Mario, and he'll be like, "Nah, that's rubbish." So I was sort of inspired to maybe like not in like a what's your unpopular opinion kind of way, just in like a what would be an interesting premise for a podcast, and it'd be like you make the take, you make a point, then you spend 45 minutes justifying it. And Hades was a good launch point for that, because to say that something that's so new and in a genre as full as roguelikes, and how there's so many games coming out all the time. So you're competitive, that's the way. There's so many coming out all the time. So many really beloved ones, Moonlighter, Dead Cells. So for us to say, and we did say on the podcast, we definitively did say this is the best roguelike game, and this is the best game of the year as well. We also agreed on, and that was really where that came from. And I wanted to, I had all these ideas of games I wanted to talk about, topics I wanted to talk about, and people I wanted to talk about them with. The episode that I think started the downfall for me, where I didn't believe in the idea as much, was one of the first ones I ever came up with, and one of the first things I agreed to do before it became questionable takes, I was trying to get something else on the go, was me and John Cartwright had agreed to sit down, list out all the Metroid games, and then rank them from 1 to 15, however many there are now, in order, and we'd argue over what one's the best one. And that was like the premise that sort of was the whole idea for what we were going to do. And then we'd book something in, never happened, book something in, never happened, book something in, day came around, disappeared. A couple of days later, we popped back up, and at that point, I was just like, okay, maybe it's not going to happen then. I brought it up awkwardly when we did our November stream, and it got completely ignored. So I was like, this obviously isn't something that's going to happen. And that's when it started to unravel in my head as maybe this isn't going to work if I'm setting it up to be entirely based on having a guest on the topic, because it so hinges on people that maybe aren't as interested in it as I am, that it starts to sort of fall apart. And like I said, it's something I'd love to pick back up again at some point, if and when.
So what's your hottest questionable take, or your most recent one that's been burning a hole?
I mean, this isn't burning a hole. I say this all the time. 2D Mario isn't fun. Never has been fun. I've never enjoyed a 2D Mario game. Even as a kid, I was like, this is trash. And even as a kid who then loved Mario Sunshine, Mario 64, loved Mario Odyssey, if I then go and try and pick up a 2D Mario game, I'm not having any fun. They're just not interesting. They're not, what's what I'm looking for? They're not, what's the word I'm looking for? Intuitive.
Yeah.
There's no like fun variety in gameplay. It's all very formulaic, and it just blows my mind that it's like the most popular form of Mario, that these games are like the best-selling Mario games, and that there are so many of them. And it then blows my mind even more when Nintendo releases Super Mario Bros. U again, the same game again, and it sells better than the original, and that's all time they could have spent making a new 2D Mario game. Because in my head, this didn't take a lot of effort to sort of take the same. It's an ice world. It's a desert world. It's a I don't know. It's the Mushroom Kingdom again.
Would justify
I'm not
it.
one of those. Sorry,
I was going to say, well, justifying it based on a questionable take. Like, is there an example of 2D platforming that you think is better than 2D Mario?
Yeah, I think that, and I'm not talking in like roguelike Metroidvania or anything like that.
Yeah,
I'm talking just straight platforming. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is one that I think does it in such a way, because every level tells a story. Every level, world tells a story. So every level tells its own story, like a small, you go from A to B.
Yeah.
But then each of those levels becomes part of a whole world. So there's the world. I always bring up the one example of, there's the world where you start off in the jungle with all the fruit, and you're in the fruit chopping down bit, all the fruit's being chopped down, you're jumping through, and then you're in the juicing plant, all the fruit's being squeezed and juiced, and then you're in the freezing where they're freezing it all, and then it's turned to jelly, and you're bouncing on all the jelly, and there's just that. Oh, sorry, it goes the other way around: jelly then to ice. So you're in the jelly, and then they turn that into ice, and that then leads you into the ice level at the end. But that whole process of seeing you're going through this whole fruit being cut down, turned into ice thing. And the way that each of the levels has its own unique gameplay element of, you're swimming through juice, or there's this big juicing robot chasing you down, or you're bouncing on the jelly things to get from A to B, or you're sliding along the ice and the ice blocks are falling and they can crush you. It's just so clever, and I don't think that's the sort of thing that Mario has personally. I just think that's such a clever way of making a platform game interesting and making it feel natural, because all the platforms are things in the level. There's rarely something floating. It's always attached to something, or it's a part of the level, or there's something falling and you're on that something that's falling. And it just feels like there's so much care has gone into making it feel like more than just a platformer.
Yeah,
which I don't think.
Because there are quite a few out there. I mean, I do like World, like Mario World's probably one of my favorite games of all time. Mario 3, played that to death on the All Stars cart back in the day on the SNES. So yeah, I'm struggling to think of a game that I've actually enjoyed 2D platformer recently. In fact, so much so that I'm really coming to.
There's got to be. I mean, I've enjoyed some of the stuff like Celeste that's got that hard element to it. It's not a straight level platformer, is it? So it doesn't quite count.
I won't compare it though. It's hard, isn't it? Yeah, probably. I didn't like, was it Monster Boy recently as well? I thought that was naff.
Yeah, and that's a remake of a Mega Drive game, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's also got elements of other things in it. If we're talking like, maybe it's just a dying genre straight. I mean, Mega Man games are like straight up platformers, aren't they? From like
Yeah,
it's almost
yeah, yeah, yeah.
80. I really love all the Mega Man games. Mega Man 1, I played all of the original Mega Man games all the way through. Um, Mega Man 9 and 10, I played on the Wii. That was sort of what got me into retro games and made me go back and start playing NES games and playing all these games that I hadn't played as a kid because I'm younger than you. I started playing on like Mega Drive, very end of the Mega Drive, start of the PlayStation era. Wasn't a Nintendo guy until the GameCube came out. So going back and playing for all of those games, and even as a sort of 16, 17-year-old kid, I knew that these were good games. These Mega Man games were fun. They were challenging, but they were like, it was good to overcome them, and you were getting the power-ups, and the level designs were clever, and the music was really interesting. And then I played something like Mario, which I just thought was just like, this is generic. And then you play something like Mario Sunshine, where at the time I liked Mario Sunshine a lot. However, I've since come to like less as I've played things like Odyssey and things like that. But I'm like, how are these the same game? There's so many good ideas in like Odyssey, for example. There's so much like fluidity and so much cool design and so many cool like power ups, and there's just so much going on and secrets and things like that. But I just find 2D Mario to be so bland, and it's rigid as well. I find it so it's floaty in a weird way, and I never feel like the power ups are any good. Or that I don't know. I could probably talk about Mario for a while, but I won't talk too much more about it because.
Loving the passion. I think it's
Well,
most
my
despondent I've seen you.
for
Yeah, you're proper gutted about it. Yeah, I think you know what, I can see it, and I'm not 2D Mario's biggest fan in recent years. Like I agree with you. I think the rehashing of released games is bugging me, and I would prefer that budget to go on something new, because it's great having that nostalgia vibe, but how many times do you want to buy the same Mario game over and over before you've kind of experienced it to death? And adding a couple of additional levels into it, or a section at the end, just didn't really make sense. Although Bowser's Fury does sound more like it's a legit kind of open world kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that it wasn't anything special, because it just felt like a bunch of people were comparing it to Odyssey, but it felt like a bunch of 3D world levels stitched together that you could move the camera in, and it was fine. I enjoyed it. The sort of couple of hours I played it, but I don't think it was like as smart as Odyssey was. I thought Odyssey was just incredibly clever, and when I think back to that game, I think of like how often, even throughout, I played 50 hours of it. I got all but 2 of the moons in the game, and the whole way through, I was just like, "This is clever. This is very fun. This is new. I didn't know this was coming. They've subverted my expectations, and that's what I like from games is when they can do that. And 2D Mario doesn't do that for me. So I'm not here to convince you. I'm just here to tell you why I think the way I am.
No, it's, you know what,
the
and
way
again,
I do.
This, you do you, Max. You do you. It's still in a wrapper. I'm literally looking at it as I speak. I have not been that bothered to open it up, and I think I got the steelbook with it as well.
I got sent a steelbook by the lovely Tom92, I believe his name is, on Twitter. He just reached out to me and asked if I wanted to have it, and I took it, and it's on my shelf.
Christian name or Tom92? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's his Twitter handle. I don't actually know his second name. It's Tom.
I love this. People just sending you stuff. It's fantastic. Segues beautifully into the next part. You seem like a very connected man, and I want to know why. You've never really gone into it, but you always name drop people that you kind of worked with, or that you're aware of. Is it a little bit different to kind of the generation that Ben and I are coming from, or talking about a lot, where we didn't really have a lot of friends that play games, and you just tend to know a lot of people? What's the shit there like?
It's because, and I wouldn't say I'm very connected. I would say there are people that I do know and have just happen to meet. But I think it's all through people giving me chances. A lot of where I am today, in terms of not just in terms of work, but in terms of like working with you guys, for example, or the things that I do, have all been people giving me a chance and introducing me to things, or like giving me a platform. So I can't thank Pixel Power enough for giving me the opportunity at Loot Pots, because that led on to the opportunity at where I've worked with the guys at Fanatics 4, who Parker was just a guy who followed me on Twitter, and we would talk every now and again. And then one day he was like, "Oh, why don't you come on my podcast?" And I was like, "All right, fine, that sounds like fun." And it's introduced me to loads of people on Twitter who were a part of their community, who are now people that I interact with all the time, and that I would say, like, you how you got internet friends. I would say they're my internet friends. They're not a part of that community, And just through, I don't know, just through wanting to better what I do and meet new people, because I'm a people person. I like talking to people. I like knowing people. I like being friends with people. I'm one of those people that I like to make jokes at people, like you say, like how we rib each other.
Yeah.
But I need to know someone to do that. I don't want to be the one just attacking strangers on Twitter. Like, there'd have to be like an equal ground where they could do it back to me if they wanted to. I don't want to be someone that punches up at people.
I'm pretty sure you did that on our Twitch stream. You came on and you took the piss out of us for something, and Ben literally went, "He'd be awesome on the podcast. We should get him on."
That was just after I recorded with Ben.
Was it right? Okay, yeah.
The week after I recorded with Ben, and I think he said something like, "Oh, we should get you on the podcast one week." And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds good." So I came on the following week to see what was going on.
Yeah.
And really liked what you guys were about, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna rinse him in the chat. Why not?" What was it I said? I think it was the last time I ever saw Mike, and it was when I said that Divinity Original Sin 2 was like Diablo for virgins. I've just never seen him since.
Yeah, that was it.
I've never spoke to the man, and I feel bad because I've never had a chance to explain to myself that I was joking.
It's a bit worrying that he went missing the minute you started joining. Like it's no coincidence there, Max. What have you done? It was enough of a line that you actually you put him into an early grave. Poor lad. Yeah, I mean, it's weird with the group how like people kind of ebb and flow in, but it works because you kind of realize like, well, you know it because what we're about, but everyone in that group's got like, other commitments, as in family, got good jobs, like everyone's working really hard. And then,
right.
Exactly, yeah, that. And whenever you get the time to be able to like do what we're doing, it is a little bit for free for all in a good way. It just means that you get a bit of a mixed bag whenever you're watching a podcast, but I think that's a good thing. And then we actually seem to be on a bit of a head of steam now in terms of content, which is decent as well.
The YouTube's been popular at the moment, and Ben even spoke to me about doing something for similar to what he was doing with his Let's Plays, and I was like, I could definitely do that. I just didn't want to do the thing where I commit to something and then just don't have the time to do it. But I think it's something I'd like to dip my toes into, I guess. I mean, I've always wanted to going back to where I said I've always wanted to do this kind of thing, which is when I was like, when did Minecraft come out? 2009. It launched 2009, so I would have been 16. And there was YouTube videos. I might have deleted them out of embarrassment like years ago. But there's definitely a video of me introducing the latest patch to Minecraft and like going through all the content and stuff, and that was something I really wanted to do. And I always try to do Let's Plays, but I find it very hard to do things in one take because I trip over my words sometimes, and I get halfway through and go, no, that's rubbish, and I'll try and start again. But you can't do that with a Let's Play because you're halfway through it. But I think when I've played things on Twitch before, and I've played Hades or I've played Pokemon, I find it easier because I'm interacting with people. I think that's the kind of thing. Yeah, I think I'd like to do something like that. It's good that we're doing that now and that there is more coming out because we've got all of Ben's stuff. Steve's doing some amazing stuff. I absolutely love Steve to bits. The stuff he's putting out and not even just his voice work, but just like it's very good to hear Steve be passionate about things. Whenever I'm on the podcast with him and you get Steve into something, and it's just nice to listen to someone talk about what they love in such an eloquent and passionate way that he does.
It's like a machine. It's like a machine gun, and that's funny because we always make jokes about Steve loving guns, but it's like you can hear the barrel, and he just gives you that. He literally firebombs you with an opinion, and he'll always like text after and go, "Was that okay? Was that fine?" I'm like, "Fucking hell, mate!
I've had that text.
You literally are fantastic when you talk, and it's the same as yourself. Like you're so eloquent in the way that you put things across." And I think you for streaming, one would be fucking hilarious because it'd be non-stop, which I think is a really, really good skill to have. And similar to Steve in that way, like when you've got a very definitive opinion, whether you call it a questionable take or not, like it's very, very quintessentially you. You can't take it away. It's very rare that people will have a similar view as yourself and then put it in the same vein. Steve's the same. So whenever he's articulating something and going through it, I'm just in awe. I'm just sat there going, I can't disagree with you, Steve. Like, my opinion's now null and void. Like, I do not want to air my opinion on something because you've just literally done that. And we did it really early on when we were like creating some 2-minute 20 videos, or what I can't remember what we called it.
Twitter stuff.
The 220, yeah. Sure. We were just doing, again, just videos that were perfectly cut to the 2-minute 20 rule that Twitter has for vids. And Steve did a voiceover for one. I was like, nope, not doing a voiceover anymore. It was going back to being in bands again and being literally watching, I think, Twin Atlantic play after us and going, yeah, they're better than us. You know, you can't. It's great. I'm really happy about it because it's actually let me know where I am. But yeah, there's no point in doing that thing because that person's great at it. So yeah, he's, again, just a little bit more confidence, and I think the guy would be unstoppable because I know he's been knocked back in the past from a couple of VO works. But yeah, he's so good at it. And some of the stuff he comes out with is so funny. The script that we've done in fact, I'll probably message you. I don't think I've sent it yet, but you know, we were doing the clips for the Crosscast.
Yeah.
And we were doing pick up and play, and it was going to be play of the week. So whoever was speaking about they're passionately about their game that they've been playing, we kind of clip it, and we'd have like Australian footy commentators. Him and I would be like, hey, Copper, what's going, you know, that kind of thing. But the script that we wrote for Steve to deliver, I was in stitches writing it, and I said, we didn't record it this week, but I sent it over to him a couple of times. It was like, you can't let me say that part. We need to change that part. We need to do this. It's more appropriate. I was like, this is going to be great. So I'm really, really excited to do that. One person that I've always noticed. Go on, what are you going to say? No. I insist.
Thank you very much. The things that you were doing for Crosscall, they're some of the funniest things that you guys we as a group have done. It's just so well delivered, so well written, so well edited. They're just perfect little sketches that fit so perfectly in the ludicrousy that is running a some kind of call-in show about games. You know.
Yeah, Yorkshire Puddings is a personal highlight.
So good.
That was so much fun, and again, perfectly executed by Steve. He just, some of the things he comes up with are brilliant. One thing I was going to say, I can see, you know, when people have a really, really good mix together and like work very well. Your humor type seems to work very well with Ethan's kind of like dry sense of humor, because you're so on the nose when it comes out. Like, it's easy to see the joke and get the punchline. Whereas Ethan, you have to go fucking looking for it. It's impossible. It's like a breadcrumb trail to try and get to the joke. Like, do you find that with people on the podcast? Like, you'll be like, oh, this person's on, I know I'm going to be able to do X, Y, and Z this week. Or is it more a case of you kind of take each week as it comes?
It's a good question, actually. I know whenever you're on, that there's going to be a good chance for some back and forth, like ripping each other. Because I don't think I have that with anyone. There are times when I could do it with anyone. You know, Lewis does it to me all the time. I do it back to Lewis. But I don't think there's anyone that gets or knows the limit quite like you do with me.
Yeah.
That you know just where to this, you know, the ceiling, you know, before it becomes too much. I feel like I've got the same with you sometimes as well. Because obviously, when if I ever say anything, anyone messages me and says, look, that was a bit too far, and they have done before, not in this group, but I just mean in general.
Yeah.
That's the ceiling. There it is. But we've never had that discussion. The ceiling has just always been set up. So whenever you're on, I know that the stuff I can say to you.
There isn't a ceiling. Don't worry about it. You've never offended me, and I think that's because I've been like, I'm pretty sure that's going to offend Max at some point. And then somebody, Ben's written in the basket going, that was quite close to near the knuckle. I was like, I don't know why, but I feel I can get away with it with Max. Like, it's all right with him.
Nothing. I've always said at work, I always use the term unflappable, because there's just no one's ever been able to say anything to me that's ever annoyed me or upset me. Like, I mean, even I said I wasn't going to bring it out, but even things like the breakup that I've been going through, people will make a joke related to that, and it, you know, as much as it's a tough thing to go through, the fact that I know it's a joke and that they're making a joke and they are making a light of the situation for humour and to make me feel better almost, it just makes it okay. Like, it just doesn't affect me. And you know, there can be any joke. I just take everything on the chin because I know I can give it back just as much. So I just don't. There isn't, like with you, there isn't a ceiling. You know, I've never been able to be offended by, unless someone's saying something like that they genuinely mean and feel, like you are shit, like, you know, that kind of thing. That would be like, oh, that's a bit. But if you go, oh, you're shit, I'm like, yeah, you're shit too, mate. You know, it doesn't.
Yeah. I think there's that thing, isn't there? And it's like, I know comedians talk about it a lot, but there's that you need to be able to make each other laugh, and the best way to do that sometimes is if you've got something genuinely well executed and there's actual meaning to it and it's on the nose and it's funny, It's great. Like, it doesn't matter what it's about. It always lands. It's really, really funny. And I think there's some things that you and I have done in the past where, like, the little video shorts that you do, I was pissing myself the other night at the one that you sent where it was like Chris Martin. Like, it's no one else reacted it. I woke up to that because I was doing the baby bottle and literally my eyes like closed. I'm so tired. I'm like walking downstairs, staggering, doing the bottle, 55 seconds, bang it in. Right, okay, waiting for that. What can I do in 55 seconds? All right, check the WhatsApp group. Max's. Oh, that's very funny, and I'll get it straight away. Or
I knew it was a dumb joke, but there was one back and forth between us that I remember. Is it must have been January time, and you had sent a video of you talking to Sophie, like, "Oh, have you ever mentioned Max? Or have you heard, do you know what Max did?" And she's like, "Who's Max?" And you just cut that, and you just sent me her just going, "Who's Max?" I don't know who Max is. So I did the one of me talking to the hoodie that I filled with like cushions and trousers, like a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's just, we just had that stupid back and forth, don't we? That I think are funny, and I don't know who everyone else. I'm probably just annoying everyone in that, or we are annoying people in that chat, but I don't know.
I know. I definitely annoy a lot of people, and I do get the text from that group saying that was a bit out of order. Usually something I've sent or photoshopped. So yeah, I struggle with that. Yeah, I struggle with that. Just because, there's lines. It's never come from a place of offense, but I can see why people aren't always that close. You need to remember sometimes not everyone's got the same kind of appetite for humour. But
I think you're probably the same as me in that you can expect people to be where you are when you say something. You know where you're coming from, and you expect someone else to immediately get that. Like, sometimes when I say something to like mock the typical like flag shagger like Brexit kind of opinion, I'll say something like that is entirely sarcastic, or met with like so wrapped up in irony when I talk about things like, I don't know, oh yeah, when we get the cheap, when the beers are 10p again, that kind of thing. But then people don't get that, and I get the impression sometimes people might actually think I'm a massive flag shagger because I'm like, oh, I love the Queen. I really love the Queen. I'd really like to think that everything she does is just beautiful, isn't she, the Queen? Just all that stuff like that,
Yeah. I like it, and Alex just mentioned in the chat there, his fave was the make your bed on the 4KA Mario Kart.
That took me so long to find.
Makes me feel worse now he got dyspraxia. Like, fucking hell, tell him to make his bed now. I feel like a right twat.
No,
Jesus
that's
Christ.
fine. That's just laziness, man. That's pure laziness. Although I did make it especially for this occasion.
If anything, it comes from a place of envy that you are not literally, your arm isn't put behind your back to make your bed. Whereas, like, if I didn't do it,
yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah. It's all. I'm a free agent, mate. I'm a free agent.
That's it. Haul yourself out. 5 viewers. Could be anyone. Could be anyone on here. It's fine. Speaking of free agents, so you've been getting yourself into shape this year, and I've been quite interested to know from your headspace, 1, why, and then 2, how's it going?
1, why is, so there's always, people often say things like, I struggle with my weight. That's a quote. I struggle with my weight.
Yeah.
And I spoke to people when I set out to do this. There were some people who spoke to me and were like, "Oh, how is it that you have been doing it?" Because I struggle with my weight, and I've never thought of like weight as something that I struggled with. I've just been a fat bloke because I don't move a lot and I eat a lot, and I like my food and I like sitting around a lot. There's no struggle there. There's no like, oh, I'm trying so hard, but nothing's working. It's just been.
It's an acceptance.
It's not even like an acceptance of like, well, might as well do it anyway. It's just like this is just who I am and this is my life. Because I've never thought of myself as like a fat bloke, I guess. I don't know. I know that I am. I'm aware that I am, but I never think of myself as that because I know in terms of clothes, I've never had to dress like a fat bloke. In terms of relationships, people always told me in relationships I've been in the past, oh, you're punching above your weight. Always, every time they always say it. And that's because, but I've always thought like, oh yeah, well, it's because I'm not a fat bloke, And I always know that I have it. I've never let it affect me or that it is. But there was a time, sort of 3 years ago, when I just saw a picture of myself stood next to my grandma, and it was the first time I'd ever looked at myself and been like, I don't recognize who that person is. Like, I've always known who I am and what I look like, and I can go through pictures of myself and at various different weights and still see that that is who I am. But I think it's 21 stone at my heaviest. And I saw that picture and I was just like, that's not on.
Yeah.
You know, it's not good for my health. It's not fair on my girlfriend at the time. It's, you know, it's just not beneficial to me. And then I started thinking about, you know, other people's opinions of me as a person of that weight. And all of a sudden I did see myself as a fat bloke. So then I just decided, right, I'm just going to go on Reddit, go on all the things, read up everything I can. What can I do? Here we go. What are the options here? And I shed 40 pounds in like 3 or 4 months.
And that was
in December 2018. I think I hit 18 stone 4, something like 18 stone 2, something like that. And then I just sort of was happy with the way I looked, so I didn't bother anymore. And I started going to the gym and offset that with eating. So I was still sort of maintaining a weight, but I was just eating more. And then I stopped going to the gym because I didn't work next to the gym anymore. So I got back into that. You know, I wasn't quite as heavy as 21 stone, but as of January 1st this year, I was 20 stone. And I don't think I looked at myself and was like, I always looked at myself and was like, oh, at least I'm not 21 stone. At least I'm not 21 stone. But when we weighed ourselves, because we were doing, I think it was Steve who set up that well-being group for us, which was a great idea and has been sort of just done wonders for me in every possible facet of my life. And I'm sure it has for everyone else that's in it. But when I stepped on that scale as part of that and saw 20 stone, I was like, oh. And I looked at myself in the mirror and was like, oh, okay, maybe it is. Maybe I just let it happen. And you know, you need that push, don't you? Or that moment of like, well, shit. And that was that moment of, well, shit. So I just thought, okay, what didn't work last time? And I remember last time it wasn't like a crash diet thing. It was like every 2 days I would have like 500 calories for the whole day to try and fast. I would just eat soup every 2 or 3 days, whatever. I can't remember how it works out now. I think it was every 3 days. And I just, on those days, I had no energy, and I was just so, because I'm a man who likes his food, I was just so like hungry, and I started smoking more. I was always someone who smoked maybe on a weekend if I was drinking, kind of thing. But I started, when I felt hungry, I would smoke at work. So I didn't want to have to like go without or crave or want something so bad that I couldn't have, that I would eventually just have it to excess, and that'd be it, it'd be ruined. So I decided to like, okay, I know I need to hit this many calories. What can I fit into that many calories in a day? And the more I started researching, the more I was like, this is piss easy. You just need to. I mean, obviously, I'm still a big guy. I've lost 20. No, hang on, where am I now? I'm 17 stone 13. So that's what 2 stone. 2 stone 1 pound. That is 29 pounds. So that's 29 pounds this year so far, which I think is a good effort. I don't know how long that's gonna. I'm probably gonna plateau at some point. I think there's always
it's a phenomenal effort, mate. Being brutally honest as well, that's huge. How tall are you as well?
6'2" with hair. I'm 6'1". I think I'm 6'2" with hair. That's...
And your hair is similar to mine. At some point,
go straight up.
Yeah, eye emoji. But the crux of like your weight loss, and I think this is where like I partly had to leave the group for that reason, because I was like, people are serious about this in here, and I'm not there yet. I'm kind of doing my meal replacement shakes. I've just finished like a massive thing of that. Maybe lost like a stone, where I'm happy with it. Yeah, but majority water weight, we all know what that's like. You and I have probably done quite a lot of these kind of diets in the past. So yeah, I'm happy with it. I think you carry weight really well because you are tall. And then on top of that, you're not an ugly lad. So you kind of suit it pretty well. Apart from when we had those mustaches and that was it on the face. Mate. We both look fucking awful.
I looked back to those pictures the other day of no beard, no hair, and I just didn't at the time realise that it wasn't a good look, you know. But okay, it was for a good cause. But I look back to those pictures of me, especially when I watched the Kiss My Rose video the other day.
Still a banger.
I think it's very funny, and I'm glad I put the effort in for what amounted to a tenner from Ethan. Fair. But I look at that and I'm like, I don't feel comfortable representing myself. That's what I look like.
Yeah.
And I think there's still a long, not a long way. There's still a ways for me to go before I can reach where I want to be, I'd say. But at least I can fit into clothes better than I did before, and I keep having to pull my trousers up, which is a load of fun.
That belt.
But I think, yeah, well, yeah, I had to drill a new hole in a belt. Well, it helps if the trousers have belt loops as well. Stupid trousers. Well, yeah, I think it's something I want to keep up, but something I don't want it to. I didn't want to. I mean, I've been documenting this on Instagram, and I decided to call it like a no salad lifestyle change, where I change my lifestyle without eating a salad, and that's how it's been so far. And I don't want it to be like a crash diet or like a diet. It's just a change in lifestyle that I can maintain, still enjoy my food, and lose weight on the process. And I've joined in the gym, or I've signed up to the gym, so I'm going to go when they reopen near my new work.
Yeah.
So my plan there is to go to the gym every morning before I go to work, which are going to be like 3 times a week at the moment if we start to open up more.
Did you tend to find, but I probably similar to myself, I'm not a weightlifter, but I'm more cardio, but I'm presuming your weights, like you prefer them?
Yeah, that's opposite. I hate cardio, I hate running.
Yeah.
There's something just mundane about running.
I need to lift weights, so I hate running. Yeah, I hate running. Love playing football.
Yeah, okay,
can't
good.
run.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to start lifting weights. I've never done it. I'm actually genuinely, luckily quite broad anyway, so I didn't need to fill out in that way.
I think that,
I've often
been mistaken for someone that plays rugby, despite never playing rugby. Which I think is also a part of the reason why I've never seen myself as a fat bloke, because people always think of me. There have been times in the pub when people come up to me and go, "Oh, you're a big lad. Wouldn't want to have a scrap with you," or "Oh, you must play rugby." I used to get that surprising amount, like, "Oh yeah, I wouldn't want to fight you." But I'm actually quite scrawny. Like, I've got little arms, and I'm not. I've never been very strong apart from my back. My back's where all my strength is. I've always just been like a fat bloke. So because they've always said that, I've always been, I'm just obviously a broad, big guy.
Yeah.
Which is still the case, but just with a massive belly on me too.
But I just kept on thinking back to our Movember thing, and like you said, then it wasn't in my mind's eye the best picture of myself that I wanted to be. And when I shaved my hair at that point, I was really down about it. And I'm luckily, I've never had any like mental health issues in that way, and touch wood, hopefully never will. But that's probably like the lowest aesthetically. I was looking at myself going, "You fat cunt, sort yourself out." It was absolutely straight. You should be sorry. But it was a good reckoning for me, because then it did put me down a bit more of a healthy lifestyle. And I was looking at Jesse going, I don't want to be out of breath when I'm playing, football with you in the garden and all those kind of things. And I was looking at pictures of my dad who had fucking cancer, and I was like, I look worse than him. And I was like, how's that happening when I'm coming off a podcast going like, yeah, we need to raise money? And I'm there going like, I look more like a cancer patient than my dad does. So I was like, I need to sort shit out. I'm walking down to Tesco in a cap, and people are going, "Oh, poor lad." I'm like, "Nah, it's not on. Can't happen." Carl in the chat said, "Get a bite, Dan. Fuck off, Carl." And then the other thing I was going to mention, so the kind of like the weight loss side of things, like it's rough, and the change lifestyle is really difficult as well. The people that don't help are the ones that go, "Well, nothing tastes as good as feeling thin feels." Those kind of people, where they'll be like, this is the mantra that you need to have now to be able to get in shape. You need to prescribe this kind of vision of food is the enemy. Like, talk to me about your passion with food, because I think you're a fucking good cook by the look of the pictures that you share.
Sure, if you'd agree with it as well.
Although now and again you do share the things that I would probably eat, which is fucking waffles and
potato waffles, mate. Lovely.
Your own little Cajun sauce that you probably mix with 3 different sauces, so it's not really a proper sauce. But yeah, you're there.
Yeah.
Where's that come from? That love affair with food, like.
So I've always had good cooks in my family. My grandma has always done an amazing Sunday roast. I've always admired my grandma's way of. So when my granddad used to work nights, we'd be dropped off there after when my parents are going out or doing something, and my grandma would go, "What do you want for dinner?" And we'd be like, "Oh, you want burgers?" And she would just effortlessly make burgers from scratch, make chips from scratch, do it all, have it on the table. We'd all be eating. Granddad would ship off to work, she'd clean it up, and then that would take an hour. And I always just admired how it just didn't seem to phase her at all. Christmas Day never phased her. She's always been the sole cook on Christmas Day
I thought
in
you
the
were going to
27
say.
years I've been. What, gone?
I thought you were going to say like it's just effortless. What do you want? Burgers outside with a railgun on a cow.
Grew up on a farm, yeah. We take a lot of raw meat.
But yeah, like what is with that generation? It is just effortless. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so my grandma's probably younger than most grandmas. She is 67.
Okay.
67. So she turned 70 when I turned 30. Yeah, so she's 67. 68 maybe, because she's a bit older than me. So maybe her birthday's soon. She's 67 anyway. So she's not, she was, I don't know, I think it's just always something she's always been. She's had my mum at a young age and has always been just able to cook things and just do things like that. And my mum's the same. My mum likes to cook. Maybe it's not as effortless as it is with my grandma. I don't know. But it's always felt like there's always been good food. There's always been good meals on the table, and it's never been a whole, oh, I hate cooking. Oh, I find it too hard. And you hear those people that don't like cooking, or they find it too difficult, or too time consuming, or they don't know what to do, so they just don't do it, and they'll just, we've never often been a freezer kind of family. Maybe when they're going out, we'd have a frozen pizza, but other than that, it's always been mum would cook something that she's spent time making, and I don't think they taught me how to cook necessarily. They just gave me my love of food, and that I knew that cooking shouldn't be something to be afraid of, or that something to be intimidated by. So I think it was more start getting into like watching food videos on YouTube or reading recipes, and that sort of got me into the theory of food more than actually the cooking of it. I mean, I've been watching for the last week. I've been watching. I can't remember the guy's name, but there's a YouTuber who does coffee videos. I don't know the first thing about coffee or espresso, but I've watched about 4 or 5 hours in the last week or so of him reviewing espresso machines and different espresso, all the different pulls, all the different measurements, all of the how compact you do it all. And I just find that kind of, it's just something else to add to my brain, like that I can maybe reference in a conversation when someone talks about coffee. I can go, oh yeah, what about the crema? You like having the crema on the top of the espresso, don't you? Yeah, you love that, don't you?
Mate, I just want to go Starbucks. What's your problem, Max?
But I've always liked food science, how they like Kenji Lopez. He's got a great book called The Food Lab. It's called The Food Lab, and it's about how you can use things like science in your cooking, how you can like lower the pH of chicken skin to make it crisp up better in the oven, how you can use how things cook, how things actually work when you're cooking, how they react together to make the way that they are.
Lemon juice, fried chicken, and all that kind of shit, isn't it? Where you kind of use certain
tenderizing it with acid, kind of thing, or what is acid? How does acid work with sugar? How do flavors build? Things like that. And it's only ever been that I when I want to lose weight, like get into cooking into that degree, because whenever I'm like a fat bloke, I eat whatever I want. I'm just like, I'll just cook a bunch of this. But when I'd lost a load of weight a few years ago, I was the same of like planning out every meal I'm going to eat.
Yeah.
How do I break it down? What am I eating this week? How do I, especially at the time when I had, I was scraping by week to week, let alone month to month, money wise, of like, how do I fit this into a budget? How can I buy one set of ingredients that's going to last me all week and make it nice? And that was meal prep for me. And that I gave up on meal prep because I just can't do it. It just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me at all.
It doesn't work, especially when you have like a really shit day as well. And it's like we were saying before, if you prescribe into that taboo again of mouth pleasure and all these kind of horrible, I know, yeah, fucking hell, Dan. I've had a couple of beers, all right, and I've mixed the wine. So if you get prescribing to mouth pleasure, oral pleasure, then you will have that takeaway, I think, on the Wednesday, and you'll be like, you'll feel shit for it, but I think it's not treating that as if you've fallen off the wagon. That's immensely important then, to being able to keep that kind of velocity up. Fucking hell, work. Keeping that, momentum up with that weight loss and that discipline. Cooking is a huge benefit to it. So when we were getting all the HelloFresh boxes and we were actually cooking every night, cuts down your sugar intake tenfold, and compared to what you normally do because of the shit that you're buying and the processed food that you're getting. Like if you're buying organic and you're actually cooking vegetables with something rather than getting in a packet meal, which has got a couple of calories on the side, but you haven't really read the ingredients, that's pretty much every bad thing that your body's
stuff in.
Yeah, it's hard. Like the best diet I ever did was the Whole30, where you literally you I think it's basically a paleo, but you cut out all of the things that your body's not meant to process. So it's like sugar, any processed foods, grains, like dairy, all these kind of wonderful things. And it was the best
things that
diet.
come in from like necessity than it more than
bingo. But then fucking typically the cheapest stuff as well that everyone will have in their fridge. That's kind of cereal. I'll be able to eat that in the morning, get through it. Or have a piece of bread. You can't do any of that. So whilst it was the best diet I did because I lost the most amount of weight from it, it was probably also the most unhappiest I've been. And I think the kind of similar trajectory of what you've been doing, and to be brutally honest, mate, inspiring me to do the same thing, is trying to get that diet in check in a way that's more manageable. So I'm not going to see like a 3 stone, loss in a month. I'm going to rein that over 3 or 4 months, and it's going to have its dips. It's going to have its moments where I'm not going to be great, but ultimately at the end, I'll be happier where I am.
Yeah. That's why it's a change of life. I don't want to set myself a time goal with losing weight. I don't want to say, I want to lose this weight for summer kind of thing, because then you're going to hit summer, not be the weight you want, and go, well, I tried. How I want to do is I want to lose weight to keep weight off. I know friends that have lost weight. Very good friend of mine, Chris, lost 4 stone just before I met him or something like that. And, he has fluctuated up and down with his weight since then, but there was a good portion of time when I knew him that he kept that weight off. I don't know how he did it. He worked at McDonald's and probably ate fucking free McDonald's food every day. But but I know that it's something that can be done. And he's always been an inspiration to me, in that I know that I've seen pictures of him before, and he's probably bigger than me, or he carried it maybe worse than me. I don't know, but I know that it's possible. And I've had people, I set up this Instagram account where I share food and weight loss and things like that, and I've had people message me and go, oh, you have not inspired me to start, but like they maybe have been struggling and being like, oh, is it really worth it? And then they see that I can knock up something that's quite tasty, but fits into like a 2,000, 1,500 calorie diet, or whatever. That's more than just their chicken and rice, because that's the thing you're told to eat is chicken and rice, or plain chicken, or you can't have flavor, or you have to have a salad or something like that. It's nice to be able to play with, the rules are there. 1,500 calories. Don't eat crap. You can have crap if you want to have crap. You can fit crap in. But if it's all about calories, that's just it's a challenge. If anything, it's a challenge to fit the most you can into that amount. And it's easy to do with things like you swap pasta for a lower calorie alternative. You swap rice for a lower calorie. All these things that are calorie dense. Save yourself 300 calories. That's then 300 calories you can put into a different vegetable or a flavor, something like that. And it's a challenge. It's about swapping and changing, and
it's been easier, hasn't it? I think working from home, and as well, 100% trying to get that in check and get that routine in, because if you're the same as me and you're a creature of habit, if you're baking that into your daily routine, it becomes immensely easy and more manageable. But I think as we all go back to the office, that's probably my main fear. It's like the last week I've ordered delivery twice with being in the office and just like getting some food in because I haven't prepped anything, and fuck, I'm gonna have to prep something next week. It's Saturday today, I need to go out and shop. Paydays in a couple of days, I could use that money for something different. It's like that kind of that contrarian kind of part of me now, where I'm like, oh shit, I'm back into that routine again. What am I gonna do to break out of it? Have you I know you're kind of migrating back to the office. Have you thought about how you can handle it?
So when I was told, there was a point a couple of weeks ago where we were told, about a month ago now, by the way, I've made the decision that management are going to be in the office full time now. There's no reason for us to work from home, time to go back to normal, which I eventually had an issue with and we have resolved. But my first thought wasn't, oh God, we're going to be back in the office and it's going to be unsafe. My first thought was, how the hell am I going to maintain the diet that I'm keeping up? Because I have a smoothie at 8 a.m. in the morning, fine. At that point, I've already left the house. So how am I going to travel a smoothie in? Am I going to make the smoothie at work? I'm going to make it the day before, but then it's just not going to be as good as when I make it. So, okay, maybe I don't have a smoothie. Maybe I don't have breakfast at all. Okay, fine, that's that solution. Lunchtime, I could take lunch in. Okay, I have to prep lunch the day before. I'm not a big pre-prepper of food. I like to just take things out of the fridge and come up with stuff on the fly sometimes before it comes to lunch. Okay, fine. Maybe I'll just take things in. Fine, okay. But when I'm in the office, okay, now it's time to, let's have let's get a Nando's in, which I'll come back to in a second. But then it's like the evening, 5:30, I finish work, go downstairs, what am I having today? Cool, I'll just start prepping it, start making it, eat by 6:30, done with the rest of the day. Whereas in the office, I'm leaving at 5:30, 5:45, getting home after 6. Then I have to make it and sit down. By that point, it's like 7:00, it's the end of my day. Am I going to want to, after having not had breakfast and maybe having a smaller lunch because I can't take a lot in with me, am I going to want to just have the meal that I've prepared? And I had that on Wednesday just gone when I came into the office, took a banana in, took some soup in. Someone in the office was like, why don't we get a roll? Why don't we get a roll from Pret? And I was like, yeah, I'll get a roll from Pret. I can fit that in with the soup I'm going to have and my dinner. That's fine. And then lunchtime came and everyone had ordered a Nando's upstairs. And my boss was like, why don't we order Nando's? And I was like, oh, no, I shouldn't. I was like, okay, fine, let's get a Nando's in. And I was going to just get like a bit of chicken. And it became a burger and it became chips. And then by that point, I already hit my calorie goal and I'd already put my dinner in for that day. So I took my dinner out and I was like, oh, this is really sad. And I got home from work, shattered, didn't feel too good because I'd eaten that Nando's. I'm not used to eating a lot at the moment. So to have like 2 bread heavy meals in a row, carb heavy meals in a row like that, just messed with I was just had a stomach ache. Then it got to about 8:00 and I was like, I'm really hungry. I'm just going to have some hummus and some tortilla chips and a pita bread or whatever. And I felt like shit after that. And I felt good because I'd eaten it. I was like, oh yeah, I actually feel like really nice. It's nice to have a break. I felt like shit, like physically, because I'd done nothing but eat crap all day. And I'm assuming that's how I probably used to feel all the time. Just ignored it, that feeling of,
sluggishness.
Bloated, sluggish, yeah. And that was the night that I ended up sitting for 4 hours and just listening to music.
I was going to say, was there that night? Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think it was related to that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think. And I'm worried that that's going to be the thing in the office, is that every day might be like that. Because that's part of the reason why I got into the position I was, where I was back to 20 stone, was because the office culture was jar of chocolate on top of the fridge, goes around the office twice a day. This is before COVID, goes around the office twice a day. Oh, we're getting a takeaway, everyone's getting in on that. Oh, we're getting McDonald's breakfast on the way, what do you want? Oh, there's a football table full of crisps directly behind me, and a table that was someone's desk that is now just full of chocolate and sweets and biscuits and things like that. And at Christmas time as well, especially, it's because we are in such an industry where we generate a lot of money for people. They send lavish gift baskets full of chocolate and sweets and full of like Fortnum and Mason, big Fortnum and Mason selection boxes and things like that. Big alcohol culture as well. They're always sending bottles of wine. We're drinking at the desks and going out and stuff. And it, part of returning to normality, is exciting. It is to return to normality post COVID, and the idea of us being able to go back to being back to who we are, and being able to come up and meet you guys, for example, go out and meet people and visit all my mates that moved to London in the last year that I then haven't been able to go and see since. I'm also then worried that what effect is that going to have on the fairly strict-ish regimen I've had for myself in the last 3 or 4 months. I just have to believe in myself that I can maintain a change in lifestyle for that period of time, I guess.
Yeah, you can. I think we'll come back to booze in a minute, because I think that's definitely something that I wanted to kind of touch on with you and see how you kind of felt from that journey. But the office culture part it's definitely something, I don't know if it's the same in other countries, but definitely in the UK we've got to change, because just the management style, and I'm just as bad with this with my team. Like, I'll look after them. I'll be right, don't worry guys, I'll get Starbucks in, I'll go and get them. It's just easy management. It's easy kind of wins. Like, you literally shot of sugar. Dan did that. It's like it's easy. Whereas we've got to get away from that, I think, in the kind of office spaces that we're doing. Some people successfully done it. I'm yet to kind of see any sort of use case or anything that really makes me think it's going to work for the type of team that I'm in. But yeah, we definitely need to improve. I just don't. You can't really fucking hand salary out and go, come on lads, yeah, great job. It just doesn't sit right. So I think there has to be a change, definitely.
Yeah, like, it's just like, how do you carrot on a stick with a carrot as opposed to a donut? Yeah, because also it's one of those things that if you're on a diet, it's not so much like it's peer pressure, but there is an element of like FOMO, when everyone's getting something in and you're like, well, I should too. They're like, oh, okay, just this one. Or they're like, oh, go on, it's only one thing. But that happens 3 times a week, for example, if you're in the office full time, back as we were, and then, you feel like you're missing out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I agree with you that there is like a culture of being in an office that does. Yeah, there is a lot of culture of like, just getting a sandwich and sitting at your desk, or going to the pub at lunch or something like that kind of thing. That is good for like being friends with people, having like a good like work relationship, or work, relationship with people at work, but especially for food and alcohol, especially as well. I don't know about your office or many offices, but I don't know if it's just the industry we're in. But I've never been in an office that is so drink heavy sometimes that it's just like, oh, we've got a bottle of booze in, let's have a booze. Or currently there's like a stack of prosecco and spirits and stuff next to sort of near my desk
Yeah.
from a party we were going to have before COVID happened that we're still waiting to have, later this year. And that huge amount will probably go that night. And it's kind of ridiculous when I think about it. I've never had an office that's been like that before.
Yeah. It's I mean, the same with those guys. Like, I love my team to bits. Literally awesome group of guys, like fantastic. But the first thing we were talking about when we were all kind of bit part coming into the office last week, we got a new office which is like right in the centre of Liverpool, and where it is central to possibly, I'd say, like the best kind of, not night out area, but the best kind of like drinking with friends kind of areas. Yeah. Like there's like a really cool area called like the Duke Street Market, which is like several different restaurants in one little area, and it's kind of like very boutique. And we've got like the Baltic Market, which is even further down the road, and they've got like the Peaky Blinders bar, which sounds very chavvy, but believe me, it works. There's loads like really cool things around Liverpool in that way, and all the guys like really enthused, a bit younger than I am, so like, yeah, can't wait to go out. It's amazing in the summer. Like we're going to be drinking on a Friday. I'm like, that sounds fucking fantastic, but I know what the calories are, and I know what I'm worried about, and I know that.
And you got a kid, and the other responsibilities that you can't
Just get hammered every Friday. I can't just do that anymore. As much as I'd love to, like, it'd be wonderful, but I do actually quite enjoy spending time with my children. Not plural.
I have really taken a lot. I've really started enjoying a night in. Past, which I'd be sitting on a Friday itching, and I sometimes would just go to the pub and hope to bump into people I know, and I'd always end up having a night where because I just knew people, and that was fine. But I don't think I'd do that anymore. I think it would have to be an occasion for me to want to go out and enjoy. As much as I want to get back in the pub and see my mates and feel that again on a Friday, I don't think it's going to be like a weekly occurrence for me anymore.
No, I think you're quite similar to me, where you're quite happy being an introvert, but you're very extroverted as well. So it's like you can happily take or leave. And I was really worried about what lockdown was going to do to me. I was like, I really enjoy being around people. What's that going to do? How am I going to be able to get through it? But in reality, I had you guys, so it's easy for me to still have that outlet. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can put more energy into this. This will work. So it kind of went well. All right, so we've got maybe like 10 minutes left before we've got to go. Well, you've got to go and play Monster Hunter because I'm not through the fucking tutorial yet, which is fucking.
Yeah, mate, rush through it and come in with us. We'll carry you up.
Oh, cheers, mate. Thank you. Carry me. I don't like the idea of that. But talk to me a little bit more about like gaming ambitions, just to round this off, because like, is it something you would take seriously as a career? Because I get the feeling like out of the most of us, or the rest of us, I should say, you're probably like up there with Nate and Ethan in terms of like the quality of the output that you've got. Okay. I still think you're trying to find your kind of like home. Not necessarily home. I think it's probably the wrong word for it. Your groove in terms of what type of content you want to make. But I think once you've found that, it's evident to most of us in there. Ben and I were talking about the other night that you're probably definitely up there with like the most talented people that we know in terms of games creation and articulation, having a voice. But what's like the next year or two look like for you? What you're trying to get to?
It's always something I've wanted to do. Whenever I've sort of like thought about what is it that I wanted to do for years, it's a lot of its time. It's always been like, I want to be like a games journalist. I wanted to write about games, and I wanted to be able to voice my opinion on things, but also, share news and be a part of that culture of speaking with people and talking about games, which I do. I very enjoy doing it. Very much enjoy doing it. But I also am aware that it's something that maybe doesn't pay the bills as well as some things do. I have always struggled with money, and until recently, I've always struggled with money. I've always, there was a period. It was about a year where a friend and me, a friend and me, even I should say, he would get paid halfway through the month. I get paid at the end of the month, and I give him 200 quid when I get paid, and he give me 200 quid when he got paid, and there was just 200 quid moving between us constantly because I just could never do it. And love you, Ryan, if you're listening or watching, whatever.
He's already messaged a couple of times saying his last message was Max makes a banging mac and cheese.
I do. I really do. I really remembers that. And because of that, I've always thought that whatever I do would have to, I couldn't take a cut in pay. I couldn't risk moving what I'm doing to try something new, because if I'm struggling enough as it is, how am I going to, handle it? And even now, even though I'm a bit more financially stable, mostly because of COVID, I'd say, and I have aspirations now. I want to buy a house. I want to be able to save for the future. I'm probably going to need to get a new car in the next year or two, maybe, because mine's getting a little bit older now. Maybe that whenever I've seen jobs that have come up, so I saw a job at IGN or a game at like maybe Gaming Bible or wherever I've seen a job that come up, I'm like, I could do that. I always have to then stop myself and think, can I afford to do that?
Yeah.
So for me, it's always been a hobby. And to be honest, I feel like I've had far more enriching experiences doing it as a hobby, doing things with you guys, doing things with Loot Pots, being able to speak to the people that I've spoken to and been lucky enough to work with and engage with and just talk to, I guess. I felt very lucky doing that as just someone that does it as a hobby. And I don't know if turning that into a career would maybe sour that for me sometimes as well. I think if I had a, how do I put this without sounding materialistic? If I could do the things that I like doing, like if I could write about games but get paid what I'm being paid now, I think I would do it. But I don't think that's realistic. And also, I think that I'd have to start again. I'm currently in a position where I am in a management role, in a sort of a content SEO position, learning the ropes, I guess, from the beginning of like project management, because I want to look at all these projects, all these ideas that I need to start wrangling down and turning into real products and real things that are tangible things that exist. And I feel like if I was to sort of go back and take a junior copywriting position at a games place, because I don't have the kind of experience that maybe I've got there's a lot of my words floating around on the internet, on your site, our site, on Loot Pots, soon to be other places, so it's not like I wouldn't have trouble getting in somewhere like that. But I do think as well, a lot of my skills and my experience probably isn't as transferable in terms of like having PR people to speak to, because a lot of these jobs want you to come with relationships with PR people and industry people ready to go. It's not a case that you can come into a management or an editor position and then pick those skills up. Those are skills you have to pick up in an intern position and then take with you, and then you take those contacts and that with you wherever you go. At least that's my understanding of it in the job roles that I've seen before, and I think that can be quite daunting. What about you? Is it the sort of thing you've ever thought? I know, because you're obviously big project manager, big man.
Yeah, not yet to the big man part. I mean, I'm still learning. I've only been doing this role for like 2 years, and before that, it was like head of departments and looking after like teams like 30 odd people, 20 odd people. I was like the fixer, not in like a kill people, but the fix that I go into teams and like look after them and try and figure out what was going wrong from a process perspective, because the analytical side of it really interests me. And I'm a big believer in that. You need to have process first before you start bringing people into the mix, because then it can get quite messy. You need to define exactly what the structure is. I actually devised something. You've ever heard Maslow's hierarchy of needs, switch that triangle? You ever seen it?
No, probably not, but describe it, because I think I might have come up with something recently that's very similar.
Because if you have, you're a genius. But basically, it's just like the hierarchy needs. Have a Google of it, you like it. But basically, at the below, it's all like food, shelter, warmth.
Oh, okay. No, this isn't what I thought it was. I thought it was like work related. Sorry, go on.
Oh, yeah, so it's like this kind of thing, and then it goes all the way up, and basically the very base is what you need to be able to live like happily, and then it gets, as you go up, the hierarchy needs is like the kind of upper echelons of life until you kind of get the most out of it that you need. But I came up with like the downward pyramid of management, which is like a pyramid on its upside, so it's facing downwards, and the very bottom part is empathy. So I've always said like the key kind of skill attribute that any manager should have is empathy. And if you can see people that don't have it and they're in a management role, they're not going to be good at their jobs. So yeah, my kind of job's always been to identify what's wrong, figure it out with empathy, and then drive it forward. Like Ben will always rip me for saying altruism, but to be unselfish in the way that you operate is quite rare. I put my hand up a lot, and it's actually done very, very well for me. So yeah, project management's a little bit different because if you put your hand up too much, you get over encumbered very, very quickly. So it's tough. But the principles of agile and the principles of good leadership and good ownership tend to see you through. And that organisation, like you have to at 5:30 every day, whatever time you clock off. If you're not doing those 5 minutes of lists, call it what you want, use whatever fucking system you need to do, whether it's Trello, whether it's Monday, Jira. You need to be making the list of what you need to be able to accomplish the next day. And then whether or not you time box that or whether or not you bounce from meeting to meeting and get those things done in between, that's your prerogative. But yeah,
it's what I'm doing, I guess. I mean, my way of doing it is the next morning I will then, what did I do yesterday? What did I do today? Because that's how we've been, doing it in terms of a stand-up or a sprint or whatever. But I think the good idea maybe is at the end of the day, instead of trying to remember what I did and then think of what to do, it's a case of what did I do today? Because I've just done it. What did I achieve? What didn't I achieve? And then what should I be achieving? Like, because that's, I mean, I keep trying to come up with these stupid ideas where I've sort of become, entered into a management role with very minimal management experience. We very quickly went from just being a team of 3 to hiring 3 or 4 people, absorbing a team from Kiev underneath, and then all of a sudden my job went from like my boss, me, and then my mate Ian, who I work with, to being me, that, and then like 4 people down here underneath, 3 people under him, and I very quickly had to just like come up with ideas. Luckily, these are people that were fresh out of uni and didn't know what bad management looks like, because at the very, at the start, so the pyramid thing. I came up with the idea of a job pyramid. Which is where you write down the job role for someone, but you break it down in a foundation. What are the things you're going to be doing all the time, and then like you go up in like what are the jobs going to be, and that was going to be how I was going to pitch to these people what their role was going to be from day to day. Here's your foundation jobs. Here's the every day, and it's the less frequently you do the job, the higher up the pyramid it goes. And it just fucking sucked. It just was not. It was not something that worked at all. I spent ages trying to make it work because it sounded good in my head. Job pyramid. It sounds like a great idea because you have foundations and then you go, it's great, it's a pyramid. And then it just ended up being shit. So I ended up just fucking writing a list of everything in it. And the list worked,
Lists
There's
work,
nothing wrong with a good list. Nothing wrong with a good list sometimes.
No, lists work. I think I'll always talk about like Soph and the way that she operates because she's had to run like restaurants and I devised it, and it's similar to your pyramid idea, but I called it simple standards. So like she had really simple standards, and it's I know not in a derogatory way, but the things that she kind of held core to her being a good person and a good employee was to make sure that things were cleaned, make sure she was timely, presentable, really simple standards. And I think if you can communicate that as a leader to the people that you're working with, so whether it's the 3 people that then have got 8 people underneath them, if you've got really simple explanation of what you want them to be able to achieve and you can write it on 1 page, that's perfect. If it gets any more complicated than that, then it's when it's hard to manage because really fundamentally every single week you know what their tasks are, you know what their kind of day-to-day is going to be, what's BAU, what isn't, all these wonderful acronyms.
Bottom of the pyramid.
Bottom of the pyramid. And then you work it all the way back up until the things that they're doing, very rarely, which is pissing you off, that kind of stuff. So it's no different. And I think if you apply that to, you need to have talented managers underneath you, and you need to have, if you're not technical, there need to be people that are very technical in certain areas to kind of fulfill that role. You're never going to be the best at everything. You're never going to understand everything. But ultimately, if you've got a group of people that you're galvanized, and you're working alongside, then that tends to be a good foundation for success. And give your people fucking credit. That's one thing that not many people do. If that person's doing a good job and you're reporting into your line manager, whoever it might be, your board, shareholders, stakeholders, whatever, make sure that person's first and foremost on the email and called out. Because, again, it gets appreciated. And that's legacy, man. The people talk about you when you're dead and turn up at your funeral for that type of shit. That's more important to me.
What Ben said last week or 2 weeks ago about wanting to feel praise, doing something and wanting someone to praise you for doing it. I'm also the same in that I do something and I'm proud of something, and I like it for someone to then say that I did a good job. And because I like that, whenever something is completed or something that happens at work, that I ask them to do something, they come back with something that I think, yeah, this is up to my standards or surpasses my standards of how I would do things. Because I did a very good job of managing the one site on my own for however long I did it for. And now we've got 2 sites and 2 people. And so in my head, they should be able to do everything I did and more so, because there's 2 of them to sort of like share some of the kind of thing. So when something comes back that I think that is worth pointing out, I'll go on the Slack into the general chat and I'll just say, here's a piece of work worth reading. This person did it. Good job. Everyone have a read and let them know what they think. And I think it's good that people feel appreciated. And I don't want to be the kind of manager that, I've had managers in the past. And, I had a manager very recently where the Slack noise would make my heart drop, because it's like, what have I done now? Or what have I not done now? What have I missed out on? And after I had an appraisal recently where I spoke to one of the employees, and I said that to them, like, I have had that feeling of the Slack noise going off, and she was like, oh, I sometimes get that and think it's going to be you. And I'm like, I never want that. I never want that to be.
Yeah.
I've never told anyone off. My manager always tells me I'm too nice and that I need to be harsh on them. I'm like, nah, I'm just a dickhead. They're not going to want to do anything. If I'm nice to them, I'm going to get work out of them. And there have been times where I've been sort of like not as nice, where I'm like, this needs to be fixed, this isn't right. But I don't want to be one of those people who's always like that. And so it's good to, I'd like managers who are like that to me, who praise people instead of the opposite. And it's the opposite of praise, anti-praise.
Yeah, it works. And I think you generate that culture of people that want to run through brick walls instead of throw you at them. It's that, and people happy to be called out for things that they've done wrong. 100% happy. It's very, maybe 1% of people that I've managed in the past where they've reacted poorly to it, but they're genuinely talented and applied in the right way, and they want to progress in the right way, and they've got all the wonderful qualities that we've spoken about. They'll take that criticism well, and it'll mean that they push that a little bit harder. However, delivery is everything, and I get it wrong regularly, and my team tell me. The one-to-one question I've got every quarter I do with the guys is like, what could I do better as a manager at this point? And twice, 2 of the guys that I really respect turned around to me and went, the criticism you delivered, you can tell sometimes when you're having a bad day. And I was like, you know what, it's one of the things that I've always said I don't want to be doing is dripping that down. If I'm having a rough day and getting pushed hard, I don't want them to feel it. So I was like, I've got to figure that out and change it. So it's good that you're mindful. And I've always avoided asking your age from a purposeful perspective. But how old are you?
27.
27. So you got 6 years on me, and you're probably conscious of the same things that I was. So it's good.
Picture yourself at 27. Were you as annoying as me?
Yes. Probably more annoying. Yeah. Probably
I'm on the right track then, if anything. As long as if I could be the kind of person you are at your age, which is old, then I'd probably be happy with where I am.
I'd take that, mate. I appreciate the compliment, albeit backhanded, which is
that wasn't backhanded.
Kind of was a little bit.
I did call you old, actually. So yeah, maybe it was.
Did call me old, so it was kind of a bit. But I appreciate the sentiment anyway. Well, mate, I love you to bits. Like, I've never met you in person, which is weird. I can't wait for the moment for this pandemic to kind of fuck off, so we can all meet up. Specifically, like yourself and a couple of the guys. I can't wait to bring you to Liverpool and kind of show you around and have that kind of moment here as well. It's really important to me that I love my city, and Hemel doesn't seem to have the same reverence.
I was literally just about to say, as long as I never have to come to Liverpool, I'll be glad to meet you.
But... Oh, you got to say that.
But do you know what? Change my mind now.
You know what?
I want to see this. I want to see this posh, this tarty town full of indie kids. That's where I want to go.
Yeah, you'll love it. I think you'll love it on the slide. There's a pub called the Swan, which is heavy metal. So I'll drag you down there and I'll make sure that you enjoy it. Yeah, but yeah, like I said, mate, I've got a huge amount of respect for who you are as a person, and I'm absolutely chuffed that you joined the group, and I'm made up as well to call you a mate. And I think all the kind of shit that you've gone through the last year, the strength that you've shown through it's been something that I found inspirational at times, and the work that you and I think put in for Movember as well.
That's always going to be a highlight, I think, for me. Yeah. Like that is, it was all very new. I think, like when we sort of started, And I was very glad that you reached out, because you were right that we do have like a similar sense of humor, and you know, you guys are also on a better schedule than Luke Potts, so you know that's another thing. But what am I trying to say? But yeah, like that will always stand out as like a highlight of things. You know, the first podcast was fine, but like that month where we did a couple of podcasts, but then we also did the main that week at the end, or the weekend at the end, when we did the series of streams. We got hammered. We played Mario Kart with random people. We did all that good stuff, and we raised a fuckload of money for a good cause. That's something I'm always going to be proud of, and I'm just glad that I got to do it with you guys, and that I was invited in to be able to do that, I guess, in the first place. So
yeah, I know. Well, you're not going anywhere. Not letting you. Regardless of how high you fly or how tired you are, you're still getting dragged into the podcast now and again, just so I can rinse you. But look, mate, let's go play Monster Hunter. Let's go and chill out and do this. But thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. This has been a good episode of just talking.